Hello and welcome to the Hofstra University Model United Nations Conference MUN 101 guide video. My name is Mike Roller and I'm the Secretary General of this year's conference. Unfortunately, because of the global pandemic, we needed to move this event to an online format. With that change, we'll need to go over some crucial information to ensure everything runs smoothly. This video will serve as a guide to getting your computer set up with Zoom. After that, we'll go over some of the features we'll be utilizing on the application. And finally, we'll review the fundamentals of parliamentary procedure within a Model UN committee. We recommend for all delegates to watch this entire video. Skipping sections may lead to confusion throughout the conference. Thank you so much, and I hope you all enjoy. To start, let's go over how to download and install Zoom onto your desktop or laptop computer. Getting this app downloaded before the conference begins can ensure that you sign in properly to each committee session. The first step would be to open any internet browser on your device. I'm using Google Chrome here on my MacBook. However, to be clear, the following steps remain relatively the same despite variations in operating system or browser. The next step would be for you to go to zoom.us/download. Once that page loads, you'll click the blue Download button under the Zoom Client for Meetings option. From here, please open the file that begins to download. This location may be different depending on the browser. However, here on Chrome, it's down here on the bottom left. When you click on that file once, you'll need to follow the on-screen instructions to finish the installation. You may need to put your computer password or click the buttons labeled Continue or Install. When it's all finished, you can delete or remove the installer into the trash. If you already have the Zoom application installed on your device, we'll need to make sure that the program is up to date. If you do not have an active Zoom account, your Zoom app will look like this. Without signing in, you do not have access to the Update button within the app itself. Because of this oversight, you'll likely need to delete your current app and re-download it to ensure you're on the correct version. For those of you who have active Zoom accounts, please follow these instructions to update. First, move your cursor to the button in the top right to view your profile settings. In this menu, move your mouse down to the option that reads Check for Updates. Clicking this option will tell you if you need to update the app or not. If you get a button that says Update, please click it to install the latest version of the software. If it says you're up to date, like it does for me here, you're all set and you can sign on to your committee session. Once you have Zoom installed and updated onto your device, the next thing you'll do is join the committee session when it begins. If you're unsure of your committee start time, please review the schedule either on this video or our official Humunc webpage. When it's time for you to sign in, find the Zoom link provided by your high school Model UN advisor. Clicking the link should open a new web page with the option to open zoom.us. Please click that button. The app should then open to your committee meeting. Once you're in, please hover your mouse over your image and click the three dots on the top right. Then select Rename. Please change your name to the country or delegation that you've been assigned for the committee. When it comes to Zoom fundamentals, you'll be able to mute and unmute your microphone using the button in the bottom left. If you do not want to repeatedly click that button, you can press and hold the spacebar on your computer to temporarily unmute and release when you're finished speaking. Of course, just as importantly, the button beside the microphone option will turn on your video. We will ask each delegate to keep their camera on throughout the conference to ensure a lively atmosphere. If you do not have an internal or external camera available, please inform your chair upon the entry into your first committee session. One additional note, we will not tolerate virtual backgrounds during the conference. If you must have a virtual background, please make it an entirely blank white or black image. Thank you in advance for your cooperation. Now, we'll need to go over some of the key features within the Zoom app that you will need to use throughout the committee. At the bottom of your screen, you'll notice the Reactions menu. Within this menu, you'll find the Raise Hand option, When selected, a small hand can be found at the top left of your image on Zoom, and the chair of the committee will receive a notification that you have your hand up. This is how you will notify the chair that you would like to make a motion or would like to speak in a moderated caucus. One thing to remember, please return to the reactions menu and lower your hand after being called on. We will also use the nonverbal reactions within the reactions menu. These buttons will be used primarily for voting. When prompted, you can go to the reactions menu and select yes or no while voting. If you would like to abstain, please listen to the chair to know which one of the other two buttons you will need to select. Regarding the specifics on how the conference will work on an online format, we'll be using the Zoom Breakout Room feature in order to simulate an unmoderated caucus. To do this, you must first pass an unmoderated caucus in your committee, by which the chair would automatically create 10 different breakout rooms for you to join with your several different committee members. Once that happens, you'll notice a little 1 symbol on the breakout room option on the bottom of your screen, as shown here. When you see that, please move your mouse to the bottom of the screen, click that option, and find the different Zoom room that you would like to join. Once you've found the room that you'd like to join, move your mouse to the right-hand side of that room and hit the Join option. Then hit Join. This may take a moment for everything to load up, but once you're in, you will be in your own separate committee room with any individual who happens to also join that breakout room. Of course, once the fun is over and the time is expiring, you should receive a message on your screen letting you know that the breakout room has 1 minute until it will close officially. Feel free to take this time to wrap up any thoughts that you may have. However, if you're all finished, feel free to select the option on the bottom of your screen to leave the breakout room and move back to the main committee session. This may take a moment to load, but once you're in, you should be all set. Everything should resume as normal. The final feature on Zoom that we would like to make note of is the chat feature on the bottom of your screen. Feel free to use this to contact any individual or all individuals within the committee. Of course, the chat feature defaults so that your first message is sent to everyone in the committee. However, if you'd like to change that, you can use the To option on the top of the bar to change to any recipient that you'd like to send it to. In the case of a Model United Nations committee, this feature will replace note passing. Just change whoever you'd like to send to and send your note. Of course, one important note about the chat feature in Zoom is that the host of each Zoom room does have access to all chat logs throughout the Zoom meeting. This means that if you do receive any sort of disrespectful note within the chat, we can find that out. Please refrain from saying anything disrespectful, anything rude, and of course, anything that may make another person uncomfortable within the committee. If you do happen to experience something that is unpleasant in any shape or form, please direct message your chair to let them know that this situation has arisen. If we find evidence of bullying within the private messages in the chat option on Zoom, we will remove the aggressor from the committee immediately. So please refrain from anything that may make another person uncomfortable or anything that may hurt another person's feelings. One final note for those that are in a crisis committee. Please save the email address listed here for your respective committee. Sending an email to that address is how you will enact closed directives and complete objectives which are specific only to your character. If you are sending an email to Crisis, please sign with your character name at the bottom of the text so our staff can more easily keep track of your letters. Feel free to ask your Crisis chair any questions about this system when the committee session begins. Thank you. We will now be moving on to a MUN 101 discussion to recap on parliamentary procedure before the conference begins. Whether you are an experienced delegate or if this is your first committee, please stick around to go over the intricacies of debate. To begin, we'll talk about the different points and motions you could make. A point of personal privilege is typically what one would say to request something outside the debate topic. For instance, in person, this point can be made to ask to go to the bathroom, turn on the AC, or if you'd like someone to speak up. On Zoom, however, you can use this point to request to turn off your camera, or any other personal requests you may need to make. The second point listed here is a point of order. You can say this if you feel the chair of your committee has made an error in the rules of committee. If you feel the chair has skipped a critical part of the voting procedure or have miscounted votes, you can say point of order to make note of the issue. Point of inquiry is a phrase that you'd say before asking a general question to the person currently speaking or to the chair of the committee. Similarly, point of information can be used if you have a question regarding the definition of something, or if you'd like to ask about the specifics of the committee background guide. Next, we'll discuss the first action in every committee session, roll call. The chair will call on each nation represented within the room. When your delegation is called on, you can say present or present and voting. There's a stark difference between these two responses. Present means you withhold the right to abstain in committee, whereas present and voting means you are required to vote yes or no on all motions. While you do have more options to simply say present, saying present and voting tells your constituents that your vote counts and you must be convinced. If you do not like the selection you've made, don't worry. You'll have the opportunity to change each time attendance is taken at the start of every committee session. After a motion to open debate is passed, the next motion is usually to open the speakers list with a set speaking time. The speakers list is useful for delegates to speak outside a set topic for a given amount of time. It's a key moment to explain to the room where you stand on any given subject. To be added to the speakers list, simply raise your hand, wait to be called on, and say, "Motion to be added to the speakers list." Once opened, the speakers list never closes in a debate, despite moving on to other motions or topics. This means you will keep your place on the list even if you pass a motion for a caucus of any kind or vote on a draft resolution. Additionally, if no motion passes during the debate, the committee will default back to the speakers list and pick up from where it left off. If you're in a committee with more than one subject of discussion, you'll need to move to set the topic. Let's say you'd prefer to talk about topic B before topic A. You would motion to set the topic to issue B, then issue A. Under normal circumstances, there will likely be someone who disagrees with you and wants to speak on topic A first instead. If that's the case, you may need to go into what's called a 2-for, 2-against motion. In this instance, 4 delegates would speak to the committee to support their preference. One would speak on behalf of topic B, then one against topic B, then one for, then one against. Afterward, the committee will vote on which topic they'd prefer to discuss first. When that's complete, the topic is set and the debate shall begin. After some time of hearing from delegates on the speakers list, you may want to move for a moderated caucus. To do this, you'll need to meet 3 requirements. How long is the caucus? How long is the speaking time? And what is the specific topic of discussion? A typical motion would sound like this. Motion for a 5-minute moderated caucus with a 30-second speaking time on why we should always wear socks. Keep in mind that the total duration and speaking time must be divisible with one another. If you want your speaking time to be for 45 seconds, the total duration should be 3, 6, or 9 minutes. In a moderated caucus, the debate moves much faster than the speakers list. Without needing to wait in a line, delegates can raise their hands after each speaker and are called on as evenly as possible by the chair. As a final interesting quirk about moderated caucuses, if you motion for a moderated caucus and it passes, you have the option to speak either first or last, depending on your preference. Unmoderated caucuses are the least formal method of debate during a committee session. During an unmod while in person, delegates can stand from their seats, walk around the room, and freely discuss anything they please without moderation from the chair. Online, everything remains mostly the same. We will open breakout rooms for each delegate so they can freely move around and discuss with their peers. Interestingly, Unmods are used mostly to write working papers and draft potential resolutions to the topic at hand. The chair will periodically move into different breakout rooms to help anyone that may need assistance, but will generally remain an observer during an unmoderated caucus. After a working paper is finished and handed into the chair, it becomes a draft resolution. The chair will announce its arrival and look favorably upon a motion to recognize it. Following its recognition, the chair will ask the sponsors or writers of the document to read it aloud. After reading it, you may move for a question and answer period, so different delegates can ask questions about the paper before moving on. Motioning to move into the amendment process is a great way to ensure the entire committee has a voice in the creation of the paper. While in the amendment process, delegates can request different clauses be added to the document. If every sponsor of the paper likes the addition, it becomes a friendly amendment and is added to the draft resolution automatically. On the other hand, if just one sponsor disagrees with the suggested amendment, it becomes unfriendly and is put to the vote with the entire committee. After the amendment process, one should expect to see a motion for a 2 for, 2 against on the draft resolution. This is not technically required within the rules of debate, but it is extremely common. This is a useful moment for those who oppose the document to have their voices heard so they can explain why you should, potentially, vote against the paper. Alternatively, this gives the sponsors and supporters of the paper further time to explain why the committee needs to pass their resolution. Finally, to end the topic, the draft resolution is put to a vote. The chair of the committee will do a roll call vote to hear the responses of each committee member. Similar to roll call at the start of the session, each delegate will be called on alphabetically and expected to respond with for, against, or abstain if they withheld the right to do so. With a simple majority vote, the draft resolution can officially pass and the topic can be put to rest. Finally, we will now go over how to write a draft resolution and what you need to put into the document before giving it to the chair. Firstly, a draft resolution will need to have at least 3 sponsors or writers. Any less than that suggests that you did not hear from enough of the committee members to get input on your working paper. Secondly, you'll need about 20% of the committee to sign off as a signatory. In all GA committees in the 2021 conference, 20% of the committee adds up to about 5 delegates. As a signatory, you are essentially saying you'd like to see this paper discussed and debated on. You are not directly supporting the paper. Lastly, your paper requires to have 2 different clauses in 2 separate sections, preambulatory clauses and operative clauses. Preambulatory clauses, or preams, have very little to do with the actions you are taking to resolve the problem. Instead, preams are used to explain why you need to resolve the problem. They usually consist of extremely fluffy language that isn't taking any direct action. An example of this would be the phrase, condemning the recent violations of human rights. The act of condemnation is not a legitimate response to the problem. It's instead a mindset to help resolve the issue. One important grammatical note about preams is that they all end in commas. Conversely, operative clauses consist of a numbered list of direct actions you are taking to resolve the problem. Each operative clause should begin with a verb or action word and should end with a semicolon. An example of this would be Clause 1, designating UN peacekeeping troops to help resolve the conflict. While writing, please ensure you have a numbered list that follows a logical order. With that, we want to thank you all for watching and participating in this year's conference. Despite being online, the staff is looking forward to spending the weekend with you all and making this as good a conference as ever. Of course, if you have any questions about the conference, please feel free to email me or my Undersecretary General Arsalan at HofstraModelUN@gmail.com. You're also welcome to explore the many resources we have available on our website at hofstra.edu/model-un. HistoricalCrisis, or just by typing Humunc into a Google search. Have a nice day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all virtually this weekend.